Charlotte 911, do you need police, fire, or medic?
I need police. Somebody just been in my house. I came home and I had a woman in my house, and I pulled out my gun and and she's not moving.
How old is she?
I have no idea. I don't even know the woman. She's inside my house in the hallway on the floor.
Is she flat on her back?
No, she's on her stomach. I can try to move her on her back. My husband told me don't touch her. Oh God, what did I do? What did I do?
Who's the better cook? Who said I love you first? Who takes longer to get ready in the morning? Who's the grumpier one in the morning? Who's more stubborn? Who's the bigger baby when sick? Who's the social butterfly? Who's the messy one? Who works out more? Who requires more attention?
She was our angel, our flower, lured to a home and brutally beaten and murdered.
And every time that you talk to her on the phone, hey beautiful, hey my pretty aunt, and she
wouldn't want us to be sad out there. She was the life of every situation. You know what I'm saying? Prayed every day. Listen to gospel in the shower.
life for the choir. My sister was a precious, precious person. My sister showed unconditional love. If anybody ever encountered Tyra, she made you laugh.
It was the early morning of July 18th, 2023, when a wife walked into her bedroom and found a 25-year-old woman, Tyra Crosby, lying in bed with her 50-year-old husband. In a shocking moment of rage, she will do something that will change her life forever. Moments later, the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department received a 911 call that led them to the 500 block of Porter Street in northwest Charlotte, North Carolina. And when they arrived at the home, they found the horrifying state that the 25-year-old woman was in, riddled with bullets, lying in her own pool of blood, and lifeless. At first, investigators accepted the wife's version of events, but as they started digging deeper, they uncovered one critical piece of evidence that would turn this case completely on its head. This is the life and death of Tyra Channel Crosby. Tyra's final moments would take us to the city of Charlotte, North Carolina, a place known for its rapid growth, southern charm, and status as a major financial hub, second only to New York City in banking assets. But beneath the surface of its thriving development lies a troubling reality. Charlotte's violent crime rate is 48% higher than the national average, and it was in one of these quiet residential streets that a moment of rage turned deadly, leaving Tyra Crosby dead. Tyra Channel Crosby was born on August 28, 1997, making her 25 years old at the time of the tragic events that unfolded. She resided in northwest Charlotte, North Carolina, where she lived with her mother, Tanya Hoskins. Tyra stood out from those around her. She was remembered for her vibrant energy and her big dreams. Loved ones described her as lively and sociable, someone who brought joy wherever she went. But what no one expected was that her outgoing nature would eventually draw her into a dangerous situation involving a married couple, ending in a fatal outcome. Although Tyra was known for her kind heart and ambitions, she also faced personal challenges that resulted in several run-ins with the law. Her mother, Tanya, often expressed concern about the people Tyra chose to associate with, trying her best to protect her daughter from harmful influences. Those worries proved to be valid as Tyra's life became increasingly complicated. Her encounters with the legal system began in 2018 with charges related to simple battery and assault. By 2021, the charges became more serious. She was arrested for assault with a deadly weapon with intent to kill, as well as for firing a gun into a home that was occupied at the time. Further incidents took place in 2022 and again in March 2023, involving allegations of simple assault and making verbal threats. Even so, people close to Tyra say she was making efforts to improve her life. Despite her setbacks, she continued to show kindness and compassion. Her warm and outgoing spirit remained intact, and she kept trying to be a positive force in the lives of others. Like many young women her age, Tyra hoped to find a lasting and meaningful relationship. However, because of the challenges in her past, building trust with others proved difficult. Even though she spent time with people from different backgrounds, she struggled to find someone who truly accepted her. This left her navigating life on her own, often making personal choices, some of which led her down the wrong path. Still, her determination eventually led her to someone who made a real difference in her life. Tyra met a man who seemed to be everything she had been searching for. They shared a strong connection and enjoyed many happy moments together, which she proudly posted on social media. For a while, the relationship brought stability and joy, but everything began to change when Tyra became involved with another man. Their relationship developed quickly, but she was unaware of the troubling truth that would later come to light about him. This man was 50-year-old Albert Alexander, who had been married to 51-year-old Stephanie Alexander. The couple lived together in Charlotte, North Carolina, and had shared many years as husband and wife. Stephanie had 5 children from a previous relationship when she married Albert, and he had taken on the role of a supportive stepfather, becoming part of a blended family. Yet behind the image of a committed husband and father, Albert's actions on one particular night revealed a much darker reality.
Believes her daughter met the man at a club.
Maybe perhaps at the club or perhaps at the sweepstakes place. As the investigators stated to me, that's where they found out that they came across paths.
Hoskins reflects on the last day she saw her daughter alive.
We ate and laughed. Who would have knew that would have been my last time ever seeing my daughter?
That was Monday night, as the family celebrated Hoskins' birthday. At the end of the night, she kissed her beloved Tyra goodbye.
On the evening of July 17, 2023, Tyra, who loved being out and about, chose to relax by heading to a nearby club. She arrived alone and treated herself to a few drinks, enjoying the music and atmosphere. The night seemed lighthearted and fun, until she crossed paths with someone who would change the course of her life forever, possibly marking this night as her last visit to any club. This was the night that she met Albert Alexander. He too was at the club on his own, and the two struck up an easy conversation. They danced, shared drinks, and talked for quite some time, quickly building a connection. Back at home, Albert's wife worked rotating shifts to help provide for her family. Albert was well aware of her work schedule. He knew exactly when she left and when she was expected back. Later that night, while still at the club, Albert invited Tyra to come back with him to his house. What Tyra didn't realize was that Albert was married and lived with his wife at that very residence. At the time, Stephanie happened to be away on her usual work shift. It remains unclear whether Tyra agreed to go with him because of the alcohol she had consumed, the rapport they had built during the evening, or both. Tyra agreed to go to Albert's home, completely unaware that he was a married man. What seemed like a casual decision would sadly lead to a tragic series of events. Later that night, she arrived at the Alexander home, where she and Albert picked up where they left off at the club, eventually ending up in the bedroom together. But things took a deadly turn when, on the early morning of July 18, 2023, Stephanie returned home unexpectedly around 5:00 a.m. As she entered the house, she walked in on a shocking scene: her husband in bed with Tyra. Fueled by intense anger and feelings of betrayal, Stephanie allegedly charged toward Tyra, grabbing her and beginning what would become a horrifying ordeal. During the attack, Tyra attempted to reach out to her mother for help. Tragically, the call went unanswered and was instead recorded as a voicemail, capturing her desperate final moments. Investigators later retrieved the voicemail, which was never shared publicly. According to those familiar with the recording, it captured chilling audio suggesting Tyra endured a violent and prolonged attack, followed by being shot and killed. Whatever happened for the remainder of that night remains unclear, but its horrifying consequences were evident. Tyra was killed after she trusted a man who thought he was single. Not long after, Stephanie herself placed the harrowing 911 call that the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department received. In that call, She told the police about what she did. She shot a woman after she caught her in bed with her husband.
Charlotte 911, do you need police, fire, or medic?
I need police. Somebody just been in my house. I came home and I had a woman in my house, and I pulled out my gun and and she's not moving.
How old is she?
I have no idea. I don't even know the woman. She's inside my house in the hallway on the floor.
Is she flat on her back?
No, she's on her stomach. I can try to move her on her back. My husband told me don't touch her. Oh God, what did I do? What did I do?
This made the police rush to the home immediately, and when officers reached the Alexander home, Stephanie led them to the location of Tyra's body. Inside, officers were met with a grim and heartbreaking sight. Tyra was deceased, with visible injuries from both gunfire and what appeared to be physical abuse. After seeing the gruesome scene and having the confession from the killer herself, police immediately took Stephanie into custody and brought her to headquarters for further questioning, treating her as the main suspect. But it wasn't just her who was brought to the station. Albert Alexander was also dragged by the police to be questioned and to reveal his version of what had happened. It wasn't long after these interviews when the authorities formally charged Stephanie with voluntary manslaughter. She was booked into the Mecklenburg County Jail later that morning, around 6:00 a.m. on Tuesday, July 18. Despite the seriousness of the charge, she was released later that same day at 2:00 p.m. after posting a bond set at $250,000. Although Albert's involvement in the events leading up to Tyra's death raised questions, no charges were filed against him. Still, many people believe his actions played a major role in what ultimately occurred. It wasn't long after this when the news of Tyra's death spread, and when it did, the outrage immediately exploded. Tyra Crosby's family, and especially her mother, Tanya Hoskins, expressed outrage over how the case was initially handled. Tanya personally submitted the audio recording left on her phone to the Charlotte Mecklenburg Police Department, SCMPD,
She's charged with the lowest form of murder. I want it up to first-degree murder.
pushing investigators to upgrade the charges against Stephanie Alexander.
I was invited there. She did not just pop up there. She was not an intruder. She was invited there.
She also says that Crosby called her in her final hour and left a voicemail in which you can hear Alexander beating her before shooting her. According to Hoskins, it was a prolonged beating.
She's saying, no, you're going to kill me, you're going to kill me. It's about an 8-minute long message of her being beat, tortured. You can also hear them telling her that they're going to kill her.
She strongly believed her daughter's death was intentional and called for the case to be treated as first-degree murder. Tanya made it clear that Tyra had not unlawfully entered the Alexander residence. According to her, Tyra had been invited there by Albert Alexander, Stephanie's husband, which she felt completely undermined any claim of self-defense. In her view, the events pointed to a planned attack, not a spontaneous act. She also told investigators that in the early hours of July 18, Tyra had tried to call her for help while being assaulted. Tanya believed the entire situation had been orchestrated by Stephanie, who, she claimed, had deliberately set Tyra up by using her husband to lure her into the house with deadly intent. Although there had been early speculation, partly influenced by Tyra's previous legal issues, that she may have broken in, that theory was later ruled out by evidence, and because of this discovery, the consequences that Stephanie is facing will just get worse. On August 3, 2023, the Mecklenburg County Grand Jury returned an indictment against Stephanie Alexander, upgrading the charge to second-degree murder based on the voicemail recording provided by Tanya Hoskins. This shift in the investigation only deepened the gravity of the case and led to more serious legal consequences for Stephanie. On December 5, 2024, more than a year after the fatal events, Stephanie Alexander appeared in court to face the charges tied to Tyra Crosby's death. Standing before the judge, she entered a guilty plea, not to the second-degree murder she had originally been indicted for, but to a lesser charge of involuntary manslaughter. Following her plea, the court sentenced her to a prison term ranging from 60 to 84 months, meaning she will spend at least 5 years incarcerated for her role in Tyra's death. This marked a substantial reduction from the original second-degree murder charge filed after the shooting took place on Porter Street in Charlotte. Prosecutors accepted the plea deal, which signaled a legal turning point in a case that had sparked strong emotions and public outcry. Tyra's family, especially her mother, Tanya Hoskins, remained vocal throughout the legal process, describing the plea deal as a disappointing resolution to what they believed was a calculated act. Despite the prison sentence, many in the community questioned whether the punishment fit the loss suffered. Despite the court's decision and the years Stephanie will now spend behind bars, while the man at the center of the events remains uncharged, others bear the burden of the tragedy's aftermath. On July 23, 2023, just days after the fatal shooting, loved ones came together at a local Charlotte park to hold a vigil in Tyra Crosby's honor. As candlelight flickered across the gathering, friends, relatives, and community members stood side by side to remember the young woman whose life ended far too soon.
Beautiful. Her soul, her spirit, inside and out.
She gonna be our angel.
Those in attendance spoke fondly of Tyra's joyful spirit, her generosity, and her deep loyalty to those she cared about. The emotional impact of her death was felt deeply throughout the crowd. Her mother, Tanya Hoskins, stepped forward to address those gathered, her voice trembling with grief but steady in purpose. She made a public commitment to continue seeking justice for her daughter, vowing that Tyra's death would not be forgotten or dismissed. Tanya also reflected on the future her daughter had dreamed of, the life she was building, and the void her loss has left in their family. The vigil ended with collective prayers and supportive words for Tanya's ongoing mission to find closure and accountability.
What to say, she called me her queen, and I will forever miss that. But I am so grateful that whatever God sent her to do, she, accomplished that mission. We don't get to pick the date. And she wrote her story, and I am forever grateful.
On July 24, 2023, Tyra Channel Crosby was laid to rest during a service held at Greater Temple Baptist Church in Charlotte, NC, surrounded by loved ones, still coming to terms with her sudden and tragic passing. In the end, as the legal dust settles, the man whose actions many see as central to this chain of events continues on without consequence. Tyra's story reminds us how quickly lives can be lost when betrayal and violence go unchecked. Her case highlights the need for accountability, fair treatment of victims, and the painful reality that justice doesn't always feel complete. Let us know what you think about this case in the comments below.